After 19 years in a coma, this boy wakes up. This is what he says. He opened his eyes and wandered around in confusion. He didn't know where he was, and he found himself in a hospital bed. The nurse approached him to observe his condition, and he said his first word after 19 years in a coma. Before we let you know what is happening, help us out by clicking the like button, and also be sure to subscribe and click the notification button so you don't miss our future videos. Terry was 19 years old when he slipped into a coma. He was involved in a car accident and was injured severely because of it. Terry was a young, healthy, and cheerful guy until the accident happened. He was even married and just starting a family. His wife had given birth to their daughter just 6 weeks before the accident. It was July 1984, and Terry had just turned 19 in April. On the day of the accident, he drove with a friend in his pickup in Arkansas on a small bridge. All of a sudden, the pickup slid off the bridge and bumped into the railing. Then the pickup fell off the bridge and ended up upside down on the side of the river. The friend who came along unfortunately died, but Terry was still breathing, although he had become unconscious. After the emergency services arrived at the scene, they took him straight to the hospital. In the hospital, he was still not conscious, and it took a year before any changes occurred. At that time, the doctors had given up hope, and they thought that his changes would only be temporary. At the time when the accident happened, Terry's wife had only just given birth to their daughter. The years passed, and the girl had never spoken to her father. She could only see him in the hospital, and so she grew up without her dad. Surely she missed him a lot. It must have been strange for her not knowing her father. During the 19 years that Terry was in a coma, technology changed so much, and there were even other government songs that were hit at the time that were now old and out of fashion. And of course, he didn't see his daughter growing up. He had a great deal of catching up to do when he woke up. Nobody knew for sure if that was even possible. How do you think someone can catch up with 19 years? Terry's family didn't have the money to pay for physiotherapy for him when he was in a coma, so his muscles and limbs got weak. When someone lies still for such a long time, it is important to keep the body in shape. His family visited him regularly in the hospital, and they did this faithfully all those 19 years. However, they didn't think he would wake up again and were afraid he might even die. Nevertheless, some remained hopeful, and finally, Terry woke up miraculously in 2003. He opened his eyes and looked around in confusion. The place was unknown to him, and he was in a hospital bed. The nurse walked up to him to check his condition, and he said his first word after having been in a coma for 19 years. His daughter was now 19, but he believed that he was still 19. To him, it was as if he was just in the pickup. His first word was mother. He could only use his mouth because his muscles and body parts were weak. But in the days that followed, Terry gradually recovered. The only thing he had was a speech disorder as a result of the accident. Terry's development was the subject of curiosity for many scientists, and they made various scans of his brain. They wondered how he managed to talk immediately after such a long time. Not only did scientists show interest, but also the media. Terry not only became a scientific legend, but he also became famous. Journalists were eager to interview him, and he got invited to do several talk shows. During the coma, Terry's brain created new connections. This was very interesting for science, and they did further research so they could explain this because Terry had been in a coma for so long. He will never be the same person again, but his family is happy to have him back among them. And now, for the first time, his daughter had a chance to get to know her father.